Come in.
Hello, Miss Wilson. I'm Joe Sullivan. Nice to meet you.
Call me Jamie.
Hello, Joe. Take a seat and let's begin. The supply chain management position at this corporation comes with a lot of competition. We have narrowed down the resumes that were sent in to us to 10 people who are bringing in to interview.
Thank you so much for taking the time to interview me for this position. I can't wait for it to start. Let's begin.
Absolutely. The way we are conducting these interviews is by asking questions to try and get a better understanding of your personality and who you are. We want a person who will be a good fit for not only our company, but also our company's culture. Just give me a brief summary about yourself.
Well, for starters, Jamie, I'm currently enrolled in the Bowling Green State University in Ohio. I carry a 3.8 GPA and am enrolled in both the Honors College and the College of Business. The CBA, or the College of Business Administration here at Bowling Green, is one among the top 50 in the nation. I am planning on double majoring in both supply chain management and finance. Along with my academics, I am also involved in a variety of extracurricular activities. The first of these is men's soccer. I'm a member of the men's soccer team, which is a Division I sport here at Bowling Green. Supply Chain Management Association, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Along with, and not last but least, Women in Business Leadership. I think that there are a variety of skills that come along with all of these different various involvements. I love moving around during the day. I'm the type of person, I hate just sitting around and just watching TV all day. I love to just go, go, go. And that's like my attitude that I carry around the world. I have an extremely busy schedule, which calls for a lot of self-reflection. I reflect daily about the events of the day and how I can improve the next day so that my life is overall going to be better. I've been able to develop a lot of creativity in handling a busy schedule. Being so busy has caused me to master logistics, which is perfect for the supply chain management position that you're looking to hire. I think that with my personality and my skill set, I would be a great fit for your culture and your corporation. Lastly, I think that I can offer somewhat of a lot of energy, creativity, and a logistic ability that will make your company make more revenue.
Thank you for that brief description. Could you please now explain to me what your education was like? In other words, could you explain a couple instances in which your education has greatly impacted your life?
To be honest, Jamie, I think the reason why I'm sitting in front of you at this moment, like getting even the slightest glance from your corporation for this job, is strictly due to my education. Going into college, I think, is really where it all started my freshman year, and when I really made some giant leaps in my life and how I view the world. I think going in, I was like most college kids. I was pretty nervous. Wasn't sure about like what the outcome was going to be or how my overall experience was going to be. But in the same time, my mom and I sat down. We figured, I want college to be a difficult time, but I also want it to be extremely rewarding. And so, during that talk and over the course of the summer going into my college career, I decided to enroll in the Honors College, which is honestly one of the greatest decisions I've ever made in my life. It's been extremely challenging, but at the same time, extremely rewarding. It all started in Honors 2010, or Critical Thinking, in which I really just started to fine-tune my skills of how to actually think. Going out through high school or even before that, junior high and elementary, you're kind of just led blindly along by teachers, and you're never really told to think for yourself. Most of them just teach towards the test, and the whole job, their job is based on their ability to get you to pass the ACT or get a good score in the ACT, and they get rewarded off of that. Well, critical thinking taught me that there's more to life, and there's more to how I go about life, in that there's more than just looking for an answer, searching for an answer. There's so much stuff behind that. I think that even tied into the next semester even more when we started looking at worldviews and great ideas class. And what I really learned, I think, from that class is probably the best class I've ever taken, in which I really started to look at how I view the world and how I find meaning in life. In other words, what drives me? What makes me wake up in the morning and have a productive life and something that I'm going to feel fulfillment at the end. And by looking at these worldviews, I think I've developed a lot of skills that will be extremely important and extremely useful for the supply chain management position.
I think that education is important in everyone's lives, and it really pleases me that you realize that how important that is and how greatly that will impact your future. The next question I would have for you is, what would you say two of your greatest strengths are?
Well, I think one of my greatest strengths is problem solving. I'm the type of person that I realize that there's going to come times in this job, and really all around life, in which somebody's going to ask me a question or I'm going to arrive to a problem. And, I'm not going to have the answer to the solution. I'm not going to know right away. And I'm the type of person that instead of just sitting back and saying, I really don't know, I don't have an answer for you, I'm the type of person I'm going to tell you I don't know. But at the same time, I'm going to go home and I'm going to go figure it out for you tomorrow. And I find so much meaning in my life during that quest or the search for an answer. I'm really driven by the time from not knowing an answer to the time of finding an answer. I find so much drive and enjoyment and just overall fulfillment between when the question is asked and actually finding the solution. So I think when, looking at this position, and all the other candidates I'm sure are all really qualified, but I'd have to ask, how many of them are as committed to me as finding out answers, or how much of them actually enjoy looking for an answer? Because the fact enjoying finding an answer, I think at the same time just causes that much more drive and that much more energy towards a solution, which can, in the long run, I think it'll help your corporation out so much. And kind of going off that, another strength of mine I see is my self-confidence. There's a lot of people in this world that just go through life, with their hand down in class, or their head down, their headphones in, walking around campus or whatnot, just really not believing in themselves and not believing that they're a unique person, that they have something to offer. And I have a firm belief in myself that if I have hard work and go about problems, if I put in the hard work and go about problems the right way, then I'm going to make it. I'm the type of person that, once again, if you ask me a question, I don't know it, I'm going to figure it out through hard work and going about it the right way. My parents have instilled me with these ideas, and it's kind of like a path that I followed along throughout my life, that if hard work pays off in the long run, if you put in hard work, then good things are going to come. I've never wavered from this path, and I will continue on this path for as long as I live, I think. And I think that this confidence will be a huge addition for your business, because having somebody in supply chain management overseeing the operations of your company and really being able to be confident in their decisions and fully believe that what they did is the correct idea, I think that I'm an extremely useful resource for your corporation.
Thank you for giving me your strengths in such great detail. Kind of going off of that, what do you think would be your greatest weakness?
Well, I think that one of my greatest weaknesses is how I view the world from time to time, and that is in a very scientific point of view. And I think you hear it all the time, language arts teachers will ask their students a question and be like, oh yeah, you're definitely a science person or something along that. And that's not exactly what I'm trying to get at here. What I'm trying to say is I often ask myself questions that are measurable, and that what I mean by that is they have answers. They're not moral questions, They have direct or distinct answers, and often I base my decisions off of prior knowledge or results that I've had in the past. And so I think that this can be considered a weakness because I often don't go with my gut feeling. I'm not the type of person that's just going to take a risk or do something in life in which I really never had any prior knowledge or experience with. I like to stick with what I know. And a lot of people in their business fields, the entrepreneurs, they're the type of people that are going to take risks. Well, I'm the type of person that's going to come into your supply chain management organization. I'm going to be able to implement something that I know and something that works. And so basing it off of that kind of knowledge, I think that this might be a strength. However, I think that there comes a time in everyone's life or in everyone's job in which they need to make a gut feeling. And so at the same time, I'm viewing this weakness as something that I can maybe turn into a strength, something that requires a lot of self-reflection, which plays a huge role in my life at this very point. And so I think that through self-reflection, that I might be able to make this into a strength in which I could come to a problem and you need a solution or you're seeking a solution from me in which maybe I don't know the exact answer because I haven't experienced it, but at the same time I know that if I go with my gut here, that's going to pay off in the long run. And so I can pretty much guarantee that if I have to make this judgment call in the future with no prior knowledge or results to base it on, that I'll be able to make it for you.
This job requires a lot of teamwork, and this company relies a lot on our employees' abilities to work effectively in teams. How would you say you work well with others?
I agree with you in the idea that this job requires a lot of teamwork, because supply chain management is all about teamwork. And I think that the way I approach working with others is pretty unique to other people, in the idea of which I take in all of the perspectives around me. I'm the type of person that likes to lead, but at the same time I like to hear. And so I view everyone in the group as somebody that can add something equally as important as the person next to them and the person to their other side. And so I love to take in all of their perspectives because I think everyone comes from a very unique background and has done things differently or has had different experiences that have shaped their view. And so I enjoy working with these people in a group setting in which I think I can take everyone's ideas and kind of combine them and like how I see fit, at the same time expand on other people's perspectives. I think that this will lead to a lot of new innovations for your supply chain, which can be extremely useful.
Imagine that you are the head of a project and you have 5 different people reporting to you. Each of these people is going to come up with a completely different way of how to achieve the exact same goal. It is your job to pick the best one. How would you go about deciding who you're going to pick?
I realize that in the supply chain field, there are many ways or perspectives in which we can achieve a goal. That's the beauty of this position. However, if I'm going to be able to choose one solution to our problem that I'm going to pick the one that's going to best satisfy the needs of our goal. What I mean by that is I'm going to pick the one that best covers all aspects of the goal in order to find the best solution. The key to this situation for me personally, and this is just how I would go about it, is that everything depends on context. I realize that everyone has their own perspectives, but however, sometimes somebody's perspectives might not be necessarily the best in terms of completing our goal. So the key for me is to realize that there are different perspectives and ways to go about the problem, but ultimately, I'm going to pick the idea that has the best overall fit, if you will.
What makes you a better candidate than everyone else for this position?
Now, I'm sure that when you're picking the list of candidates based off the resumes you received, I'm sure you narrowed it down to 10 awesome candidates. A lot of them very close to me and very similar in some of our ideas. However, I like to make my decisions that aren't based on emotions. What I mean by that is I think that a lot of the people that you might be looking at right now for this position, the same one that I'm interviewing for, base their decisions off emotion a lot of times. I think, for example, imagine you're in an argument with one of your coworkers or something along the lines of that, in which they have one idea on how to solve a problem and you have a completely other opposite idea, and really you just don't disagree with, like, you don't agree with them. But what if their decision was better? And I think a lot of times the other people applying for this position would pick their solution to the problem based off their emotion that they wanted to be better. They wanted you to see them as the person that really is one of the strong points of this company, and I won't do that for your company. My mindset is to make the best decision for this company. What I mean by that is I want to make the decision that creates the most profit and the most revenue for your company, and I don't care if it's my decision or if it's somebody else's perspective. I just care that your company makes the most possible money is what I'm trying to say here. And as I said before, self-reflection is huge in my life. And so I'm constantly having this ongoing conversation in my head, constantly looking for new and improved ways, new innovation on how to complete tasks. And I think that the supply chain management field allows a lot of leeway in innovation. And I think there's a lot of innovation that still needs to be had. And I think that my creativity from this self-reflection, the creativity that I get from constantly asking myself, how am I going to make this better? How am I going to make this company better? How am I going to make this process more efficient? How am I going to get the supplies from point A to point B in a quicker manner? And I think that my innovation skills will be able to get these resources in the right place quicker and in a better condition, ultimately making you more money.
The question I have for you is, how do you evaluate success?
Well, I think everyone's definition of success is unique, but for me, my definition of success is defined based off of how I find meaning in life. I evaluate success based on how I come to an answer. There's many ways to come to an answer or solution, but in my past experiences, I think the best way to live life is by constantly self-reflecting. I'm the type of person who is always asking myself questions of, how can I make this better? What did I do today that showed me fulfillment in my life? Or what did I do today that I really enjoyed? And so I think questions are an absolute necessity in my life. I think that every business needs a person who's going to ask these type of questions and who's going to think differently about problems. I bring that unique perspective or that unique look on certain problems that I think your company needs. And the questions that I ask myself are always how. How am I going to make this better? How am I going to deliver the most value to our customers? How can we make this process more efficient? I don't believe and taking the easy way out. I think that there's always a way to make something better. I think that this outlook on life and how I evaluate success is really going to be a benefit for your company because there really is no end point for me.
Thank you so much for coming in. I think this interview was a great success. I'll be sure to be in contact with you in the near future.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Oh yeah, I just interviewed Mr. Sullivan for the position. I think he'll be great for it. Alright, yeah, you have a great day too. Bye.
First off, I just want to say that obviously this was a mock interview. It wasn't real. When we were initially given the task of creating a final project, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do or how I was going to go about the task. I remember vividly getting handed the syllabus and just staring blankly at the section that said final project. I had absolutely no clue how I was going to do it. However, one thing that I did know was that I wanted to create a project that played into my strengths. What I mean by that is a project in which I was able to truly succeed and be able to get my worldview across to the viewer in a very interesting way. So as I was going down the line of final project ideas, I was getting more and more frustrated toward what path I was going to take. Being a business major, an interview type setting came to mind. And the more and more I thought about it, the better the idea sounded. And, I finally just decided that this was going to be the path that I was going to take. I think that choosing this interview style says a lot about how I view the world or what truly drives me day to day. I think that you can tell a lot about a person based on how they interview. One of the aspects of my worldview is that I find meaning in my life when I'm trying to find a solution or an answer to a problem. This is that kind of quest for knowledge that Ford speaks directly about in the postmodern chapter. It's during that quest for these answers when I truly feel alive. Putting together a project like this gave me the same feeling of liveliness, and to be honest, I'm going to feel a little sad when I turn this project in because I have so much fun just putting these things together, and I really just want them to keep going. I also find a lot of meaning in my life from self-reflection and asking myself questions. This hybrid of science and philosophy allows me to really get creative. I think that's shown in this interview. Instead of blindly going about life with a false sense that I'm right where I'm supposed to be, I've been able to kind of take a step off the path, step off the mythic path, if you will. This creativity is shown in an interview style final project because I think it is unique. I believe that a lot of students will turn in a paper or game board or maybe a script of a play. However, I doubt that many people in the class went about this project in the manner that I did. And I think it's through this self-reflection and asking myself questions of what I really wanted to do that I was able to pull this project off. Before I get into the questions that I asked and how they reflect my worldview, I first want to say that there are a lot of purposeful techniques that I used throughout this interview. If you notice, I stayed away from actually using the names of the worldviews in which I used to help find meaning in my life. It would be so unrealistic if I just randomly said, you know what, I really find meaning in my life due to the postmodern worldview discussed by Dennis Ford in his book, A Search for Meaning. This interview was supposed to be as impromptu as possible. I tried to limit the amount of times that I filmed each section because I really wanted it to feel real to the viewer. I wanted you to feel like you were there, like you were witnessing a live interview. Sometimes I lose my train of thought for a second, or sniffle, or stutter during the interview, and hey, that's okay. Every interview has errors. Nobody is able to go into his or her interview for an important job and have it go flawlessly. Obviously, I didn't want to go into this with no plan at all on what I was going to say and just hope that I covered all the worldviews and got all the points for the final project. No, I had talking points for each question that I wanted to cover in order to really express my worldview. Lastly, to make this interview even more realistic, I had Jamie, who was playing the person holding the interview, to come prepared with a question that I really wasn't ready for. This question that she asked me was, what is one of your greatest weaknesses? I was not ready for this question at all. However, this is what I wanted to happen. I think that my worldview should still be able to come through regardless of whether or not I was ready for the answer. Every question asked in this interview was purposeful. The first question that was asked was, give a summary about yourself. In this section, I really wanted to get some of my values out. I said things like, I'm a go, go, go type of person because I value my ability to connect with others. I would much rather be in a group of people interacting with one another, getting to know each other, expressing ourselves, instead of just sitting on the couch and playing video games or sitting alone in my room. I also wanted to express how much I value my educational experience. I bring up my GPA along with my extracurricular activity in this university to show how much college really means to me. I can honestly say that this place has helped me really find who I truly am. It's really helped me find myself because it has given me a blank canvas and said, make what you want with your life. I think that what I have done over the course of my freshman year depicts my personal values, and I can't wait to see these values just grow and continue to blossom over the course of my 4 years here. The next question that I asked was, what are two of your greatest strengths? My response for this question was that one of my greatest strengths is problem solving. I said, I think that one of my greatest strengths is problem solving because I'm the type of person that if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I'm going to figure it out. And then I went on to say, I find so much meaning in my life during that quest or the search for an answer. And what I was really trying to get at from this question was that postmodernness that I see in myself that Ford talks about, in which it's not necessarily the end point or like finding the solution that I really get a lot of meaning. It's that search. It's when I really feel alive is when I'm pursuing this answer. The second part of my answer to the question was, I said that another strength that I see in myself is my self-confidence. I went on to say, I have a firm belief that if I work hard and go about problems the right way, that I'm going to make it. And this is that confidence that I still see in myself, even though I've been kind of breaking away from it at times. I still will see it, and this part of this confidence that I'm talking about is from the mythic worldview, in which I believe that I'm going along this path, and I'm taking steps off of it. I'm trying to do my best to get off of it, but I still see this confidence that comes along with this path clinging on to me. And I've never wavered from this part of the path, and I think that this confidence is going to continue without me through the rest of my life. The next question that I had asked was, what is your greatest weakness? And this was the question that I had Jamie come prepared with to the interview, because I really wanted an interview that I didn't have all the answers pre-scripted, or I didn't have bullet points for all of the answers that I was going to go with for this interview. And so I'm really glad she asked this question for two reasons. The first being that this is a very common question in interviews. So it gives the viewer a better sense of that this is a real interview. The second reason is that I was having a very hard time coming up with a question that could express my scientific viewpoint that is in my worldview. And so I'm really glad she asked this question because I was able to get across something that I was struggling with. And so how I went about answering this question was that I said, one of my weaknesses is that I don't really go with a gut feeling from time to time. I don't often take risks. And in the supply chain field, this might be a weakness at times because sometimes you're going to have to make a decision that you don't have the answer to. And so I said that this was a weakness because I am a very scientific person a lot of the time in that I ask myself questions that have measurable answers. Often I base my decisions off of results or my past experiences. It's kind of the idea that I'll already know what's going to happen before I even do the task or try to solve the solution. And so I'm really glad she asked this question because it really helped me get my scientific viewpoint out there in the interview. The next question that I asked was, this job requires a lot of teamwork, and this company relies on our employees' ability to work effectively in a team. How do you work with others? And so what I was really trying to get at with this question was my postmodern viewpoint. I'd hinted at it before with a couple of the other questions, but this was really where I was going to zone in on it and really get it out there to the viewer. And so what I really wanted to stress was how when I'm in a group situation or in a team and we have a goal or a common problem that we're all trying to solve, I like to take in everyone's perspective because I view everyone's perspective as equally unique but equal at the same time. I think everyone's voice carries the exact same amount of weight. And so when I'm in a team, I like to take in everybody's voice. And then we're going to listen to it, we're going to compile, and we're going to work together and collaborate and try to figure out
how we can use everyone's voice to come to our common goal in the most efficient, but at the same time most quality manner. And so I enjoy this process of taking in people's viewpoints and approaching a problem like this, because again, it's that postmodern quest for an answer. It's the postmodern search for meaning. It's the time between getting asked a question and solving it where the postmodernist truly feels the most meaning in life. And I feel the exact same way when I'm taking in all of the perspectives of people in a group. The final worldview that I tried to incorporate into this response that I see in myself is pragmatism. And how I tried to get about that was when I brought up the following situation. Imagine that you are the head of a project and you have 5 people reporting to you. Each of these people comes up with a completely different way to achieve the same goal. It is your job to pick the best one. How would you go about this decision? And what I wanted to talk about here was that, there's a time and a place for everything. I previously said how I like to take in all the viewpoints and perspectives, just like a postmodernist would do. But at the same time, I realized that there's a time and a place. It's kind of like the idea that Dennis Ford brings up in his book, when you have a hammer, a nail, and a piece of wood. To get the nail into the piece of wood, the only tool, or the best tool in this case scenario, is the hammer. And so, what I tried to get with this question was, some people's answers might be better than others, and especially in the business world, we can't waste time dwelling on the bad ideas. We have to move forward with the new innovations. And so, I really wanted to stress to the interviewer that I understand that there are multiple ways to go about a problem, but I'm going to pick the one that best satisfies the goal, satisfies the needs of the goal, and that is a very pragmatic worldview that I carry with myself. In conclusion, I think that using this interview style was a creative technique which really enhanced my approach on expressing my worldview. I see tenets of postmodernism, science, myth, and pragmatism all clinging onto me. It is amazing to look back on the year and notice how much my values and how much my worldviews have grown and shaped my life. I look forward to the continuous pursuit of finding what drives me.